SoCal 90, 90, now 1, 2, 91, 2. I'm in 91, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 94, 5, 10, 6, 95, 6, SoCal, $95.
Welcome back to Trail Boss. I'm Whitney Winter-Smith, joined today by Mason Winter. On today's episode, we talked to Russele Sleep. He is joining us out of Bedford, Iowa. He's the 2018 King of the Ring champion and went on to be the 2019 WLAC World Champion. We had a really good conversation with him today. Mason, do you want to talk a little bit about what we discussed with him?
Yeah, Russell's our first returning champion back to King of the Ring. He took us through the excitement that it goes into being a world champion and kind of the details and the insight that it all takes to really be a champion.
Yeah, he really gets into the details and shares a glimpse into the world of what it takes to get to that level. Enjoy. All right, so let's just get started back at the beginning. How did you get started in auctioneering?
I went to auctioneer school in February of 2004 at the Missouri Auction School. And at that time, it was in St. Louis. And 10-day course. I did that in February. Came back, started selling weigh cows, bulls in Maryville, Missouri at a barn that was owned by United Producers. There was an older gentleman there that was their main auctioneer by the name of Dell Clement. He has passed about 15 years ago. But he was kind of my first mentor. Really, really top-notch auctioneer in our area. Won a lot of the regionals back when the WLAC was, they had regional champions. Won that numerous times. He was a cowboy auctioneer. Rode broncs, roped. He had a way about him that I still don't know if I've met an auctioneer that has as much class as he did. Took the control of a sale. Was a snappy auctioneer. I've seen that man sit down and sell 5,000 or 6,000 cattle. He'd only get up to pee a couple times, drink coffee all day, and smoke cigarettes every 15th draft. He was an old school, cool auctioneer, and I kind of patterned myself, not some of the bad habits, but patterned myself kind of after him. Like I said, he passed. I've sold a lot of sales with Lanny Ireland, another great mentor of mine. Sold some sales with Charlie Cummings, so I kind of filled in for him in Gas City the year that he won. But I've kind of surrounded myself with people that I thought was pretty professional. They always said that the champions kind of sit together, and I find that pretty true. I tried to just pattern myself after the people that I thought that was really doing something in the business.
It seemed to work out for you.
Well, I've learned a lot of bad habits that some of the buyers say, but that's just part of the business.
So speaking of working out and champions sitting with champions, you're our first King of the Ring champion and then carried on to win the WLAC the following year. So did you change anything that year going into those competitions, or was it just business as usual?
Well, came out to your guys' deal there the first year. I had been second. I had been third in the WLAC and was always really, really close to winning the whole deal. But it seemed like my interview was always what, drug me down. And then when I knew we were coming to the Dodge, it was a straight up auctioneer contest. But I knew I had the auctioneering ability to win until I looked at the contest roster and Terry Ellison was there and all the guys that I grew up listening to on the WLAC Champions tape. And I thought, oh boy, I better pack my lunch. And had a good run in Dodge, and it worked out that I won that year. And me and Terry after that, he really didn't know me, and I really didn't know him other than just the voice on a tape. We became good friends. I helped him with the car sale or two. Tried to get in the car business, and COVID hit, and that didn't work out for me. But Dodge City, after I won that, going into the WLAC, it gave me some confidence boost. I was always my worst critic was me. Uh, I thought when I got to California that year that just do what I do and blow the doors off in the auctioneering and try to step up my interview, and it worked out good that year.
Absolutely. Yeah, worked out really good that year.
Yeah, that was a good year for me.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for some of these guys coming to try to follow in those footsteps?
My advice to these young guys, I've got several, I say several, but I've had 2 or 3 young guys kind of go with me and fill in, behind me. And got 2 or 3 guys that are doing that now, and I think a lot of them, and they're really going in the right direction. But my biggest saying to those guys is, you got to do the time. Takes a lot of driving, takes a lot of hours behind the mic just to get comfortable with yourself, get comfortable with, go to some different barns. That's what helped me out a lot was going to different barns, getting in some new crowds, some new areas, learning the different markets. The market fluctuates within, 150, 200 miles north to south, east to west. A lot of windshield times. These young auctioneers are just like a 3-year-old colt. It takes a lot of wet saddle blankets to make one. And if you don't put in the time and the windshield time, you can make an auctioneer, but you won't go clear to the top.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it takes. I
What do you
wasn't gifted with God's ability to be a great auctioneer, but I formed myself and had a pretty strict routine to make it. I was determined that's what I wanted to be.
I was saying, you've reached the peak of it, so it's got to feel good to be up there looking down now.
How much practice or time do you put in outside of your day job? Like you go to work every day, but then, you say you're doing this outside and you got to put those reps in. What does that look like?
I'm kind of lazy anymore. But when I was first getting started, going up and down the road in the shower, I would be auction chanting, I'd be selling something all the time. And I'd try to, change my chant where I thought it sounded a little smoother or had a little bit better feel to it. Back when I first got started, I was only selling, maybe 1 or 2 days a week. And in between time, if I was in a tractor baling hay or brush hogging or, doing anything, I was auctioneering or, I was chanting of some sort. But as time progressed, I ended up, I still sell 4 or 5 days a week. I get about as much practice in as I need just by working. But, I've got a 9-year-old boy that I've drug around to these things since he could remember. And he's got what I had back then. He's just a little younger than I was. You'll catch him chanting and auctioneering all the time now.
He's got to carry on that Sleep name at this point.
I guess.
Get him started young. Yeah, that's great. That's totally that 10,000 hour kind of thing where you just constantly, you got to start somewhere and then you just keep growing and evolving and putting in that time continuously, and eventually that really pays off.
Yes, it does. The WLAC, the LMA put out the champion CDs, every year they put out a new one with the new champion. I would, back when we had CD players, not, we couldn't just download it on our phones, but I don't know how many of those champion CDs I wore completely out, scratch, skip. And then at night, I would order the the VHS tapes or the DVDs, and then I would, at night I would watch them things countless hours, just watching those guys, how they handled their hands and picking up little things. I mean, yeah, 10,000 hours might not be enough.
How much time did you spend watching yourself? I mean, do you do a lot of self-recording and then going back and looking? None at all?
None.
Just kind of wing it.
I recorded myself one time when I first got started, just about threw up in my mouth. And I never did record it. It's just like auctioneering. After being in it, you have good days. You just sound pretty and you can't miss a lick, and then you'll have a day where you might be tired, 3 days on the road, and you just struggle. It's like a pitcher in a baseball game. It's just, and I'll be honest with you, I sell a lot of sales where we switch every hour, and I usually lead the sale off. That first hour, sometimes it's a struggle to get your voice. It's a muscle. Just get it warmed up, and then the second hour, you can really just fly right through. You can't do no wrong. It seems like your voice anymore with age and doing it so long, it's like a muscle. It takes a while for it to get, just where you want it.
Yeah, you bet.
And and selling in a sale barn, we don't have just the cleanest occupation. I've learned over time that, different wood chips. I sold a sale for, I still do, but I started selling a sale a couple years ago for Kurt Spoilater in Unionville, Missouri. And I mean, I sold one day there, and my throat swelled up. My eyes was running, allergies. And I told him, I said, I don't know what it is here, but we've got to change. And it was the sawdust. It's just,
oh wow,
you don't get that wetted down. Up here in the Midwest, I notice you guys don't use. I mean, a lot of places in the South use chat or sand. Up here in the Midwest, it seems like they use a lot of wood chips. And different times of the year, allergy season, spring and fall, those wood chips will plug you up tight. You just learn stuff like that over time.
Something nobody outside of the industry would ever think of.
No, I mean,
makes a huge difference for y'all.
Yep, our voice is our only tool. What you can get away with and what you can't.
So, is there a different prep that you have to get through a competition compared to just your day-to-day, or do you do anything different to change that first hour that that every draft matters?
At a contest, I will. You might catch me over in the corner, and I might sell for 2 or 3 minutes just to get my vocal cords kind of warmed up. You don't want to go in just sit down completely, ice cold. You might be a little squeaky or something. You might not even know it, a little gravelly. I'll just get my vocal cords warmed up. I used to drink a lot of coffee when I was younger. I don't drink coffee hardly anymore. Basically, I'll just grab a bottle of water, maybe drink that. A lot of guys won't eat food. That really doesn't bother me. I might have a couple granola bars and drink a bottle of water coming from the hotel to the contest, and that's about all I'll need. I do work a little bit better off an emptier stomach than a full stomach.
That seems to be a pretty common trend. We've heard that from a few guys.
Mm-hmm.
And coffee actually is it stimulates the body, but it also dries out your vocal cords. It dries them out. Just lukewarm water, cold bottled water. Cold's actually worst thing you can do, but just a plain old bottle of water, just about all you'll need.
Automatic.
Just show up and sell. It's that simple.
Just show up and pull the cord and let her go.
So with King of the Ring, you're coming back as a returning champion. That's something that has never happened in WLAC. So do you think that gives you an advantage or target on your back, or what are you kind of looking forward to or looking at coming into this?
you know, I'm one of those guys that like competition, and I've been beat a lot of times. It don't never bother me to be beat. I've already, I won y'all's deal the first time, and I've won the WLIC. I've got those 2 belt buckles, and that's something they can't never take away from me. I'm just going to have fun. I like working for your family out there that time of year. It don't matter if I get first or second. I'm going to give it hell and get them guys all they can get for their cattle. The market's good. Oh yeah, it'd be great to win, but there's a guy out there that won that WLAC last year, Chuck Bradley. He's going to be hard to beat. He's been second in your guys' deal. He's going to want to win it pretty bad.
Absolutely. There's a pretty stout lineup that's all gunning for it. It ought to be a pretty good competition once we get around to it.
There's a lot of good competition. But wasn't it kind of interesting that the year I won it, I won the WLAC after, and then Will from Iowa won it last year, and then won the WLAC. Ain't that kind of cool? I guess.
I know. The signups really seem to go up after that. You guys started a tradition of going from our deal on to them.
Cool. Interesting trend.
That's
there.
Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
A great week. I mean, you guys got a perfect lineup of cattle, and the market's, it's as high as it's ever been for a long time. It ought to make a perfect day to have some high-priced cattle and really good contest.
Yes, sir. We're geared up for a fun Saturday.
Absolutely. Looking forward to having you back out.
I'm thrilled to be there. I've been to every one you've had so far, and I'm looking forward to coming back.